Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RealClear Politics Takeaway for Thursday, February 3rd. I'm Tom Bevan, co-founder, president of RCP.
I'm Carl Cannon, Washington Bureau Chief. Have you dug out from the storm, Tom?
I was actually out shoveling last night, Carl. We got about another, 7 or 8 inches in my area on top of the foot we got the week before. So definitely winter here. Carl, I'm interested, though. Yesterday, a big announcement was made in your neck of the woods. And I know while you're originally a 49ers fan, you have an affinity for the Washington football team, now the Commanders. What do you think?
I think it's an appalling name. First of all,
Commies for short.
That's right. They're going to be the Washington Commies. Nobody seems to have thought of that in the team that used to be the Washington Redskins front office, or that Commanders is a Navy, designation. This is an Army town as well as a Navy town. And it's 3 syllables, which means they won't get to keep. I don't know how they're going to hail to the Commanders. No, hail to the Commies. Hail victory. I don't know.
Well, Carl, I tweeted this yesterday. I just don't understand. This is a name that just is dripping with overtones of imperialism and colonialism and patriarchy. I mean, I just don't know how this can stand.
Where did you get colonialism from, Commanders? I thought commies was bad enough. It's they had to do something. You and I talked about this years ago on the show. I told you they'd eventually change it. Dan Snyder said he'd never do that, and he put never in capital letters. You pointed out, they did a poll of Native American tribes. They were all in favor of keeping it by big margins. The Post kind of dropped its crusade, but after the summer of social reckoning, everything's getting looked at in this country, including that, and they decided they couldn't keep it. But Commanders seems a particularly dumb name.
Well, moving on to the other big story from yesterday, Carl, surprise announcement from Jeff Zucker, the president of CNN, stepping down. It became apparent that he had this relationship. Apparently, Carl, was the worst kept secret in Washington and New York. He had been dating the chief marketing officer, Allison Gaulis, I think her name was, for years. And he apparently failed to disclose that. He was supposed to disclose it. He did mention it during the investigation of Chris Cuomo that CNN was doing, and he was out and it's done. I think there's more to the story than that, though, Carl. That doesn't seem like enough to merit the kind of exile that he ended up getting.
Well, if you went through the newsrooms of America and got rid of every top editor who met his second wife when she was a young reporter in that newsroom, you'd have wholesale changes at the top. Maybe that'd be a good thing. But there's a new standard evolving here that I'll get back to Jeff Zucker in a minute. But, the president of Michigan, the university president, was recently basically fired for having a consensual affair with a woman who worked at the university. They said, well, she was a subordinate. Well, everybody who worked there was a subordinate. So the standard is you can't do this kind of thing at all, even if no question of sexual harassment or pressure or let alone rape or that kind of thing. But, I remember when Bill Clinton was president, he cashiered, there was a Navy admiral cashiered who was accused of adultery. And, the people thought, Bill Clinton of all people, but it was that was the military code. You weren't an officer who wasn't supposed to do that. Now we've extended to college presidents and apparently now newsroom executives. So there are new standards evolving. They're very unclear what they are. And I'm not entirely comfortable with this, because what does it have to do with his job? Well, that's what you were getting to. So was this woman promoted when she worked for him? They were both married when they met. Did they lie to people? There are other issues of credibility. But I have to tell you, Tom, when I saw that crawl yesterday, or CNN sex, oh my God, they had another pedophile. But but it wasn't that. It was,
at least it wasn't a minor. That's a silver lining for CNN. But no, look, I mean, their ratings were terrible. I mean, they were failing to get even 500,000 viewers for most of their programs. This woman apparently worked for Andrew Cuomo as his communications director for a period of time. And there are suggestions and reports that they were maybe more heavily involved with I think there's a story in the Washington Post today saying that they were both sort of heavily involved in getting Andrew Cuomo to come on Chris Cuomo's show. And then, they turned around and obviously, at least, Jeff Zucker did, fired Chris Cuomo for his involvement in his brother's, sex scandals. And there was an obvious conflict of interest there, which apparently Jeff Zucker was a part of putting together.
That's right. And that's what, but you mentioned low ratings. You see, I wonder if the ratings were high, if we'd be hearing any of this. It's network television, right? But the question is, did they facilitate what was widely considered in journalism a breach of ethics, which is having Chris Cuomo interview his brother, ask all these softball questions at a time before his brother was accused of sexual harassment, at a time he was accused by other Democrats and by the government of fudging numbers and of making a decision, forcing nursing homes in New York to take elderly COVID patients from hospitals. A lot of them then died because these nursing homes didn't have the protocols, and Cuomo forced that issue personally. And then he and his administration covered up the numbers. So that was what was going on when the network was doing these softball interviews with the governor. So to find out that Jeff Zucker's female friend, his partner really, is a former Cuomo aide who was involved, and the idea is that they were involved in facilitating this. It became kind of a tangled mess, and CNN probably has to get out from under this.
All right. Well, we will leave it there. I'm Tom Bevan, co-founder and president of RealClear Politics.
And I'm Carl Cannon, and this has been the RealClear Politics Takeaway for Thursday, February 3rd, 2022.